When it comes to distributions, I've talked a lot about them, but I want to go over the long Linux distributions, the things that have been around forever, because most people that know me know that I like to pick the granddaddy or the thing that started it all because it's pure. It's before it got forked, and then that fork got forked and just became something completely different. And it doesn't come with a lot of bloat. Usually these granddaddy distributions kind of are very clean and you can use them anywhere. So in this video, we're going to go over Linux distributions and specifically the longest running Linux distributions and what has really spurned from them, and talk a little bit about their package managers, because that is really what makes a distribution a distribution. So first up is going to be Debian. Debian is kind of one of those things. It's the most popular branch when it comes to Linux. Everything's typically based off Debian Ubuntu. They have the apt package manager. When you see apt install, you know it's Debian-based distribution usually that is those instructions are set for. So I would say probably about half of the Linux community falls into this branch. That's why it's always the first on pretty much any distribution list. But Debian came out in the mid-90s and really has just dominated when it comes to Linux distributions. Now, why that is it's very stable, but also it has really good repositories where you can grab a lot of newer programs and they just work. They don't work on a rolling distribution, meaning it's not constantly updating. Usually they go several months before you see something as far as a new version. As far as major versions, it can usually go several years between major versions in Debian. But the big deal when it comes to Debian is in the mid-2000s. There was a big fork, you may know it, called Ubuntu. Now, I usually throw a lot of hate towards Ubuntu's way, but I have to say one of the biggest things Ubuntu did for the Linux community is it showed anyone can use Linux, and they made it accessible for anybody that used Linux. So in that way, I really want to say thank you to the Ubuntu community that probably don't watch this channel, but I just want to say it did an amazing job in the mid-2000s showing, hey, a simplistic installer, going ahead and packaging a lot of things that people wanted out of the box and having a functional distribution with very minimal effort, which is actually pretty nice. So kind of cool to see this branch. And then they also created what was called PPAs. Anybody that's used apt, the package manager to install programs, knows that a lot of times you needed extra programs that you wanted to go ahead and install or you wanted a newer version of. And Ubuntu created PPAs to basically add these extra repositories to grab more programs from very easily. So big thank you to Ubuntu making things easy in the mid-2000s, which it seems like a lot of really great things happen in the mid-2000s. As we're going to go down this list, you're going to see some other great innovations that's happened in Linux. Next up on the list is probably the very first distribution in Linux, or the very first, definitely the most longest running distribution up to date, and that's Slackware. Now, most people are like, what is Slackware? I have never used Slackware, but it has a very interesting take on how it installs programs with its packages. It doesn't have such like an apt or anything like that. I think it uses dpackage from everything I've read in documentation. But very interesting distribution that is now maintained, I believe, by just only one person. So it has been going since I think 95 or something. It was one of the very first. It came a little bit before Debian and a little bit before our next one on the list. But it spawned one of the most dominant in the commercial space of Linux, and that's the SUSE distribution. Most people know it as OpenSUSE, but SUSE really first commercialized a lot of its portion of Linux and made a very polished distribution. And then in the mid-2000s, much like Ubuntu to Debian, OpenSUSE came out and just said, hey, here you go. This is the free and open version of it. And everybody got to use it. And it uses a package manager called Zypper. Zypper is probably my favorite package manager, even though I don't use this distribution, because its syntax is so bloody simple. It's awesome. I absolutely love Zypper's syntax. When you go Zypper install package, that's its syntax. Zypper remove package. It's that simple. So I really dig its package manager. I think it's probably the biggest selling point of OpenSUSE. A lot of people always, criticize it or say Yast is its selling point, and I'd almost say the package manager is when it comes to OpenSUSE. And I spent 10 days on this one as well. So most of these distributions I'm talking about, I'll leave a running list in the actual top comment here. Where you can see the 30-day challenge, the 10-day challenges, and these types of things on each one of these long-running distributions. But OpenSUSE, I actually enjoyed a lot of the polish. If I didn't need to install a bunch of extra programs and do some wacky things that I do for this channel, I probably would have stayed on it. It's a pretty stable install, and I actually liked it. It was nice. Next on the list is going to be Red Hat Enterprise Linux, or just Red Hat back in the day. So this one came out about the same time as Debian, and it was one of the very first, if not the very first, commercial subscription models in the Linux space. If you're a business and you wanted to convert everyone over to Linux, you'd go with Red Hat, you'd pay this subscription model, and then you get unlimited support from Red Hat. From my understanding, I've never actually been a part of this project or this payment model, but it's very cool that the actual support model exists. I think this is neat. But Red Hat has spawned two major distributions I want to talk about mid-2000s that really popped up, and they popped up about the same time. Something was in the water in the mid-2000s, I guess. But CentOS came out, and that was almost a direct mirror of RHEL, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux. And the big difference is it doesn't have a support model, and it's completely free. Anybody can download and install it. You don't need a subscription or anything. And it is almost identical to Red Hat Enterprise Linux. That was kind of cool. They all use the same package manager, which was Yum. They recently have switched over to DNF completely, and they've kind of flip-flopped a little bit here. Some people, I think, noticed that I said Yum in a prior video when it came to Red Hat and CentOS, and the reason being is they had a brief switch to DNF, and when DNF didn't, I think there was a security concern, they switched back to Yum for a little bit, but going forward with RHEL 8 and CentOS 8 that hasn't released yet, it should release this month or next month, very, very soon. It will all be on DNF, so I think that's a really welcome change. DNF did a lot better with dependency resolution and some other things as well over Yum. But those are the packages. As far as the actual syntax and those types of things, I really have liked Yum and also DNF when it came to the package managers of Red Hat and CentOS, and also Fedora, which Fedora is what most people in the Linux desktop community know, because when it comes down to it, when you're running a desktop workstation, Fedora is just nice. It has newer packages. It's almost a rolling distribution because it constantly is updating the Linux kernel. It's very stable. I use it on my laptops, and it is very, very good distribution. I love Fedora. But that is this branch, and that kind of brings us to the next branch I want to talk about, and that is Chintu. And most people are going, wait a second, that's not an old school distribution, not a long-running one from the 90s, and you'd be correct. This one came out in the mid-2000s. Chintu is kind of an interesting one, and one I wanted to bring up, not to say you should install it. Ugh, don't do that. Don't ever follow those troll comments. But it's a really cool distribution. Not something you use as a daily driver, but you compile the whole thing, meaning a lot of the actual Linux kernel is there. It does have its own package manager called emerge that can do some of the actual installation of programs, but a lot of it is the compiling. And why this is neat is if you have a specific project in mind, let's say you have a giant billboard or some mirror, like a whatever you want to do as far as just one specific thing a computer's going to be doing to run that project. It's really nice because you can say, you know what, this one computer, I don't need all these extra modules. You can really take all the bloat out of the Linux kernel module and make it really small. downside to that is it's very time intensive to do that. But once you do it, you can easily have a really, really lightweight version of Linux like nothing's ever been seen, because you'll know exactly what ones to use for your computer or the computer that's being used to run this project. And it can just run and run and run and run on almost nothing, which is pretty awesome. It just takes a heck of a long time to compile that thing. And when I say heck of a long time, on my 8-core 16-thread system to compile Chintu took a little over an hour. So think about doing that on a dual core. You might as well just do it before bed, and hopefully there's no errors or any problems, because it's going to probably take you, 5 hours or something crazy. So then after Chintu, there's only one more distribution I really want to talk about, and that's Arch. Arch is kind of an amazing distribution. It's a rolling release distribution, which means it's constantly updating. It's always bleeding edge. It always has the newest packages. And that's not what really makes it so awesome. What makes it so awesome is the Arch user repository, otherwise known as the AUR. This is awesome. It's actual package manager's Pacman, P-A-C-M-A-N. And this is pretty good. It has a lot of the same packages you'd get from Yum or APT or Zipper or whatever the other ones I've talked about on this video are, but then it also has the AUR on top of that. And what the AUR does is it's able to basically compile and make programs for an average day user. A lot of times it will go out, clone a GitHub repository, and build a program for you. So by far, if you want to run any program out there, Arch usually can do it, because it can compile stuff that's not in any of the repositories, which is pretty incredible. That's why so many people love Arch. And this one also came out in the mid-2000s, and it has really dominated a lot of the Linux desktop scene just because of this power. It's awesome. A lot of people say it's too complex, and I just want to demystify that a little bit and just say the installer is just not very friendly. But the system itself is probably one of my favorites, if not my favorite of all time, when it comes to just getting stuff done or getting things installed and tinkering around. That's why I run it on my studio PC in here. So it's really kind of a fun distribution, one that I always encourage after trying out a Debian-based distribution, whether that's Ubuntu or Pop! OS or Linux Mint. All those are Debian-based. When you get sick of those and you want to try something new and you want more of the bleeding edge, Arch is typically where everyone goes. And some people stay, some people move back, and they're like, you know what, I want more of the stability. I don't need the new hotness that Arch provides. So that's kind of a breakdown of our distributions, our longest running distributions. I don't like touching a lot of the newer distributions you see everywhere else. A lot of people are always like, oh, check out this distribution. It just came out. It's a fork of this fork of this fork. I like to stick to the mainline distributions. And even Ubuntu in a lot of instances is not pure enough for me, because there's just too much bloat already on it. I like to go with like a vanilla Debian. And it's kind of interesting. Out of all these, my top 3 always will probably be right here in what I've talked about in this video. And that's vanilla Debian from that branch. It pretty much can access and do everything that I ever wanted out of that branch. And then if I'm going to go to more of a business environment, or I want just something that runs and super stable, a lot of times Fedora is there for me as well. I love the Fedora aspect of things. And then also vanilla Arch. These are my top 3 distributions that I run every day. On my studio PC, I use Arch. On my laptops, I use all my Fedoras. I love installing Fedora on laptop. I think it does a really good job on laptop. And then also on my main production machine, I usually am running Debian. So these are the things I usually do, but I always pick these longest running distributions, or the very first, the granddaddy of many other distributions, because they're so pure, they come very lightweight, and I absolutely love them. So with that, let me know your thoughts down in the comments section, and a big shout out to my patrons. Without you, I couldn't make videos like this one, and I'll see you in the next one.